It's Coach Jackson, and I'm here with another episode of Client Success Stories. And today I'm joined by Donnie. Donnie crushed the 16-week program and even continued on with us afterward. Now, in that period, he lost 13 pounds, 3% body fat, added an inch to his chest, and got visible abs for the first time in years. Donnie, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hey, Jackson, how's it going? My name's Donnie. I'm 54 years old. I love to play ice hockey and be physically fit pretty much my whole life. But at this point in my life, I definitely needed some guidance on where I could go to maintain or even build on that fitness and become a little better looking, if you could say that.
Well, you're a beautiful man, absolutely. But you mentioned something very like that just really caught my ear there. So you mentioned in your 50s, and a lot of people think 50s and fitness just don't go together. So tell me a little bit about kind of your journey and kind of where you're at now, especially being in your 50s, having visible abs, adding an inch to your chest, getting leaner, looking better. Most people think that you can't do that in their 50s.
Yeah, to be honest, it was becoming difficult for me too, and I kind of was starting to feel that way as well. Obviously, you need a little more guidance when you have a little more specifics coming in your direction. I'll be honest, I do like to drink a little bit, and that obviously makes it much harder to maintain certain fitness. When we met, that was one of my biggest things was like I still need to maintain a little bit, having a little bit of fun, but I didn't realize I was going to have to make some sacrifices, which I did cut mimosas out of my diet, which actually turned out to be actually a much better thing than I thought it was going to be. Alleviated some of my like acid reflux issues, things like that. But getting into the program, I was just sick of not seeing results. Even though I was working out literally on the tonal 5 days a week, I was playing hockey twice a week. Which, if you know anything about hockey, you're burning for me 7, 8, 900 calories sometimes at a time, and you're thinking like, God, I should be ripped at this point. And but as you get older, it's just harder and harder to do these things. And I realized that as this was going on, I needed something. I need more professional help, to put it simply. And that's basically where we kind of started at.
Fantastic. So, in terms of where you were previously, right? Was there a trigger, a moment or something? I'm always very curious on this. Like, what was the thing that made you recognize or realize or say, you know what, I got to get some help or I got to make some changes here? What was that moment like if there was one?
My wife and I, we were living in Hermosa Beach for number of years, and we both gained a lot of weight because we were drinking a lot, and then obviously that comes with a lot of bad eating. When we moved away from there, we did do okay. Like we lost a few pounds and we got a little better shape, and we kind of did okay. But we were literally just felt like we were hitting our head against the wall, and it was like we would get in these conversations like, well, what if we did this? What if we did this? And I've been around fitness my whole life, but I've never gone to school for it. I just read and see the inundation of stuff on social media that after a while you just start losing your mind. And you're like, which direction should I go? And with the tonal, I record all my videos and I post a lot of them, the workouts, and you would always tag me in them. And eventually you just reached out to me and I was like, you know, maybe this is something I need. And sometimes it's not always you're looking for something and something comes out of the clouds and there it was. And we had a good long, I like to talk, but we had a good long conversation, and it was kind of a realization like, yeah, I need to learn. I need to learn something from a specific individual, not just diving into it on my own.
Absolutely. Have you ever, obviously with hockey, you work with coaches, but had you ever worked with like a personal trainer or a coach or anything like that before? And, did you have any hesitations or any kind of like fears about that?
I never had any professional coaching. I had one buddy of mine who was absolutely ripped. He was a calendar model in the 90s, long blonde hair, and was just huge and ripped. And I trained with him for years, but I was always a little more fun. I was kind of, I got a lot better shape, but I was never there. But as far as professional coaching, no. For me, it was, I mean, we had conversations and stuff, but I think it was like, wow, I think because it came along at the right time, it just seemed to be the right thing. Hey, let's do this and let's see where it takes us. And then you just learn so much from it that you're like, wow, I didn't see things from a different perspective like that.
Very cool. Absolutely. And I think when you're ready, there's the old saying, when you're ready, the teacher will show up. And it sounded like you were just in the spot, you're ready. And then bam, we had a conversation, our paths connected, and, you know, kind of like fate, then here we are. Well, the next thing I want to ask is just kind of like during the journey. A lot of people will see these things, and of course, we like to highlight the results and the success, and it's really fun to look at the before and afters and everything. But I like to highlight some of the obstacles or struggles or difficulties along the journey as well, because it's not all fun and games. It's hard work. It requires discipline. Obviously, an incredible amount of effort and energy, and you put a lot into this, and you've really earned the success that you've gotten. But what were some of the challenges? And then how did you overcome them? If there's a couple that come to mind.
Yeah, I think for us as a group with you and Emily and Heather, it was a matter of understanding how much hockey impacted me, especially at my age. Having like hip and low back, not necessarily issues, but just tightness from playing hockey, and then having a lot of compound workouts where I'm playing Tuesday, Thursday. I can't do a lot of that stuff Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Like today, my legs are toast. I mean, but what's amazing is I felt great. Like the last 2, 3 months, Tuesday, Thursdays have been great. And I'm skating around with guys that the last 15 to 10, 15 minutes, I have to be honest, I'm like, oh, I'm going to eat this guy alive. Like he's got no legs left. I know I do. And it makes a huge difference confidence wise. It's actually pretty cool that way. Um, but yeah, I mean, that was probably one of the biggest things. Then, like you said, like, I mean, mentality. It's hard work coming in physically, but also mentally. You have to prepare yourself that you're gonna have to make changes, and some things aren't always going to go your way, and some things you got to tweak, and you got to be open minded to realize that you got to change things sometimes. But yes, obviously, I love to work out. I've been doing it my whole life, and the exciting part was every couple of weeks I get new sets of workouts, and I didn't have to think about what I was going to do next. It was like I just come in and here it is. It's already set up for me. It's kind of mindless in a sense, but then I can focus just on the workout itself, get through the workouts, move, keep moving down range as we're going. And what was great too is, if I may, like how the workouts change, and I can kind of see rotational core stuff for hockey, things that like strengthening my just for me to be able to shoot harder, which has happened. Just kind of amazing in itself. Um, but just how things change through the course of the program to kind of multiply or I guess manipulate your body in a certain way so that you're working all the different aspects of your physique, and not just one basic. Let's do chest and tries. Let's do back and buys. It's a lot of that was really exciting for me.
Yeah. I think a couple things that people need to really account for and think about is their physical activity. Do they play a sport? It could be hockey, it could be pickleball, it could be rucking or running or anything. But if you're doing things outside of your strength training, you got to balance that so that you're not running yourself into the red and really just breaking yourself down consistently. Because there's two sides to the coin. There's the breaking down the body and then the adaptation response that comes with recovery. And if you don't get that recovery piece, then you're not going to come back bigger, stronger, and better, and faster and leaner. So you got to get those two things balanced. And for you, yeah, we had to take that into account and make sure we were not doing a ton of legs right before you got hockey, and then you show up and then you're dogging it out on the ice because you don't have the energy, but then also you're not recovering properly, and then you're not going to see the benefits. So you have to make sure that those things are balanced out. And then also finding a program that's not just some cookie cutter thing, but something that's going to be a little bit more specialized to you so that it will help you see those benefits in your hockey game or your golf game or running around and chasing your kids or just aesthetically looking better. So that way, instead of just doing some cookie cutter thing that has 10 sets of squats, because why not? It's like, let's do something that's a little bit more personalized so that I'm going to see some benefits in my actual life as opposed to just randomly doing fitness. So very, very cool. Now, I guess outside of that, were there other benefits that you saw outside of just improving the hockey game?
Yeah, actually, just before you came along, literally my back was so messed up. I mean, I did a lot of work on my own to try to get there, but I think a lot of the rotational core and a lot of the ab work and stuff like that helped where I wasn't literally just after coming home from hockey or coming home after a workout, just sitting on the couch, like in kind of agony in a sense. Um, it's not like I don't have spinal issues or anything. It's just my hips and everything gets super tight, makes it hard to just basically bend over and pick up a piece of paper, which sure as you get older in life, I'll let plenty of people understand that feeling. But when you work on the rest of your body in a certain way to where you actually can alleviate some of those issues, that was definitely some of the benefits for me there. Obviously, just physique looking better, and friends always commenting and things like that. And yeah, so basically, yeah.
That's pretty nice. Compliments are always great. We don't do it for the external rewards, but when you get them, hey, certainly don't mind. I'd say the other thing that I want to kind of mention there is that you talked a little bit about your back, and you mentioned how like you sometimes would have some issues with it and maybe it didn't feel so good sometimes, and having to work through that. Now, one thing a lot of people will do, whether if it's a back issue or an elbow or a knee issue, is they'll actually stop doing things and they'll just like not work out or not do anything. But what's kind of ironic is if you go to a physical therapist and you go get it looked at, they're going to actually have you do things. They're going to want you to do some exercises, want you to do some movement. I remember when I got my when I tore the medial collateral ligament in my elbow, one of the first things that I did was I put it in a sling, and I thought I should not move it. And then I went and saw the doctor, and he's like, we need to get you out of that sling immediately and start moving that thing. So often movement, strength training, exercise can be the cure. Now you can't just go out there wildly, just start randomly doing deadlifts or something and be like, I'm going to fix my back. But with a obviously working with a coach or somebody who knows what they're doing, if you could have a more strategic approach and a plan, that's going to allow you to then kind of work, improve your strengths, and really kind of somewhat, for lack of a better word, fix some of those weak points in your body, then you can come back a lot more pain free, a lot stronger, a lot better. And obviously, you've seen that in not only a hockey game, but also in the pain that you were experiencing with your back, which is cool. So thank you for mentioning that. Any other kind of like whether it's obstacles, benefits, things that kind of that I didn't mention or bring up, or maybe that you didn't kind of mention previously?
Well, I mean, obviously, I hate to keep saying at my age, but it just seems to be a thing where literally you wake up the night one morning and go, "What is that? Like, where did that come from?" And literally, I caught an edge on the ice last night, slammed on my butt, smacked my head back. I woke up with couldn't sleep very well last night because I had like basically a minor whiplash, right? Elbow issues I came across. I had forearm issues which I'd never experienced before. So a knee issue, low back, all these different things. I have a pinched nerve in my neck. Like so, all these things you would think, oh man, you're not going to want to touch me because I have so many things going on. But you and the ladies were great at saying, okay, we got these issues, we got this thing. Okay, let's not do that. Let's customize this. Let's move this around. Let's get away from that. So that was what was great is I'd be like, hey, I felt bad for times. I'm like, I'm sorry, I have so many problems coming on. But it was like, it wasn't anything like super major, but it's like, this isn't, I don't want to keep going down that road. But yeah, like you talked about, active recovery is so huge. And that's one of the biggest things that's I think has really helped my hips and my back is not just like static stretching. That's just slowly learning that's actually not really the best thing in the world for you. Like active recovery is, rehabbing an injury like you talked about, or just getting past strength discrepancies that you have in your body.
Yeah, static stretching certainly has its place at times, but obviously more and more data coming out showing that dynamic stretching and/or more active movements can be much more beneficial, especially if we're talking about warming up prior to doing any sort of strength training or anything, which is great. But yeah, trust me, I'm 40. I'm going to be 43 very very soon here, so I get the age thing. The one
You're
frame
young
that I
and
really tried to kind of like hold, obviously in your 50s, you're saying I'm a baby, right? I get it.
yeah.
I likewise I see people who are in their 30s and I'm like, oh my God, I wish I was in my 30s again. So I'm that guy saying that now, which is kind of funny. But the thing I try to remember always is like, yes, the body might get a little bit more sensitive as we get older, but that doesn't mean that aging has to stink or is bad or any of those things. I try to really avoid that thought process. In fact, there's this crazy research study. I'm probably going to misquote it, but there's some data that shows that if you think favorably about aging, you will live on average 7 years longer, which is pretty crazy. Yeah, just absolutely bananas because not only do you think favorably about aging, but then that leads you to then make decisions like taking care of your body and exercising, going out for walks and sleeping more because you're thinking favorably about, your body and aging. So I really try to keep that frame of like trying to imagine myself like a California Cabernet or something, like aging like a fine wine, if you will, because I just think it's so important in mindset. I think just drives so much of what we do. So I always try to like have that frame of like aging is not bad. It's just different. And you just have to be a little bit smarter, a little bit more strategic, maybe. And ironically, I think you have to probably work out more, but you have to work out smarter as you get older, not just harder. Because when I was in my 20s and 30s, I would do 40, 50, sometimes even, I know this sounds crazy, but like 60 sets in a workout with drop sets and supersets and circuits and this and that. And I mean, I just beat the crap out of my body, just workout after workout after workout. And it wasn't until I got closer, like to mid 30s, 35, 36, that I finally learned my lesson. It was like, oh, wow, I can't just keep ramping up the intensity here. I can't just keep training like I'm 25 anymore. I need to do things a little different. And by doing things different, I actually got in better shape towards the back end of my 30s than I had been in previously, which was wild to me. But it was because I actually took more rest days because I trained a little bit smarter and then more intensely when I was going at it. So higher intensity, but in shorter durations. And then again, with just adding a little bit of strategy in it and not doing so much where I was breaking down my body, I was able to recover, build more muscle, get stronger, look better, etc. So I think that's pretty cool.
I remember in my 20s when nitric oxide first came out, like no explode. I think we talked about this, and you didn't realize it had 350 milligrams of caffeine in it. And I'd be in Gold's Gym in Redondo Beach for 3 hours. And then I wake up the next day, just be like, oh my God, what did I do to myself? But literally, you're sitting in there and you're like, okay, what's next? All right, I did 35 sets of chest. What's next? You're like, yeah. You're like, yeah, I'm 25. Like, it's 28 years old. You're like, yeah, that's a different thing. No way. I'm not. I mean, that's I'll get. That's the one other good thing is I don't know if it's specific to me, but most of our workouts are 45 minutes, and then if you add 10 minutes of abs in the end, you're like, okay, I mean, my warm up, I do static stretching and stuff, and I warm up with weights and stuff like that. And you have your warm up stuff. It's about 10 minutes. Dude, if I'm done in like an hour and 15, that's a bonus. That's awesome compared to the stuff I used to do. So yeah, totally understand that.
100%. I was there. And honestly, a lot of that stuff they found out is like basically illegal now, whether it's that Jack 3D had like all kinds of crazy ingredients in it. Like
Yeah.
they don't even sell that anymore.
Like methamphetamine or what?
I mean, borderline. Yeah. They had
I've
some
never done
crazy
that stuff in
stuff
my
in there.
life, but I've always said like, man, it's probably this must be what it feels like. Because I was like, just kept going.
I was 100% with you. But what's funny is like when you're that age, you can do that and get away with it more because your body's more resilient, I feel like. But also, you're more tolerant to caffeine when you're younger. And as you get older, you have too much caffeine. It actually makes you like, you start getting sick, nauseous, you have a panic attack or something.
Right. Yeah. Oh yeah. Like I used to take caffeine before I played hockey until like 8 years ago, and I'm like, dude, I feel like I'm gonna have a heart attack or something. Man. Not fully, but you know what I mean. You're like, stop taking it. I actually don't take caffeine for like 6 hours before I play hockey anymore because it's kind of counterintuitive, right? It's like dilation of your cardiovascular system. Where you're like, wait, I'm trying to make it flow faster, not constrict it. So yeah.
Yeah, totally get it. So as we kind of like wrap things up, and I want to be obviously respectful of your time, like if you're thinking about somebody out there and maybe they're watching this and they're thinking about, where you're at and they say, man, I'd love to get where Donnie's at, where, I'm improving myself kind of, with my workouts, I'm getting leaner, I'm losing 3% body fat and 13 pounds, adding an inch on my chest, all these great things. But that's Donnie, and Donnie's special because of X, Y, or Z. So if they're sitting there and they're watching this and they're thinking, maybe I can't do it, or maybe I'm not sure if I can do it, give some advice to that person out there of like, where should they get started? What should they do first? How do they get started in their fitness journey?
I'm sure you talk to people all the time just because of your business and what you look like and all that stuff. I've had people my whole life always ask me the same thing. And it's like, just start out with the small things. I mean, with guys, I just say, guys who are really, really out of shape. So I work in an office, like a lot of people do. And you have a lot of guys that I go, do you have your own office? Do you have someplace you can go? Go do 10 push-ups. Just start there. Start there. Make it a consistent thing. And once you can make it a consistent thing, you gotta make it a lifestyle because it's not a short trip. It's a marathon. And it's a lifestyle change that you have to be willing to make for the rest of your life. If you want to have a longevity, be healthy. We don't have kids, but I have nieces, nephews now, I have grand nieces and nephews. You want to run around with them? Man, you better figure it out because all of a sudden you're going to be in your 50s, 60s, and 70s, and it's going to be way harder to get there. But it doesn't mean you can't start.
100% right. You got to get started. You got to just start today. Start with small things, even stupidly small things. And to your point, it's kind of funny. I wrote an email about this just a few hours ago that's going to go out to my list tomorrow. And the whole one of the aspects of the email was about the never ending journey of this, because every time you climb a mountain, there's another mountain after that. Every time you cross a finish line, there's another finish line to get started on. And that's the fun part. Ironically, like some people look at that and say, oh, that's frustrating, but that's actually the fun part of this, because regardless of whatever you do in your health and your fitness, there's always another level you can get to. And we've had clients who start off in their journey and they want to just lose weight. And then after they lose weight, they want to get strong and build some muscle. And then after that, they want to then start running and getting outside and seeing the kind of fruits of their labor, and then run a 5K and then a 10K, then a half marathon or a marathon, or start doing rucks or cycling. And that's the fun part, is that it's always evolving, it's always changing, and there's always more that you can absolutely do, because there's so many levels to this thing. And I'm, figuring that out for myself too. So I think that's a really cool thing. Any last words of encouragement, or any last words of advice, or anything that you want to share before we kind of wrap things up here?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you come across Action Jackson, just trust him. He's got what it takes. He's going to help you out. He's going to open your mind and your will, and your own positive reinforcement that you need will be there from him, and his crew, like Emily and Heather. They're awesome too. I mean, I dealt with them a lot, and they were really, really forthcoming and coming and easy to have conversations with. Um, but it was a great few months, and hopefully I will be back soon.
Yeah, and last thing I'll kind of say, because again, I want to be respectful of your time, but the whole point is to obviously learn, to get better, to improve, but also not necessarily have to work with a coach forever for the rest of your life. The point is to learn and to get to a point where you can absolutely, ideally, master it on your own. And I'm guessing, after the last couple of months of us working together, you kind of feel that way.
Oh yeah, for sure. I've learned so much just nutrition wise, macros, how important macros are. I mean, that's like the golden thing. You think you're eating well, and then you start tracking your food, and you go, "Ooh, it's not really exactly what I thought it was doing." My wife always makes a joke that we used to work out every Saturday and Sunday, and I'd be like, "Oh, we're gonna go. Well, let's have breakfast." We don't really eat breakfast. It's like usually like noon, 1 o'clock by the time we get to eating. And it's like, a couple slices of bread, some cheddar cheese, couple eggs, couple slices of bacon. Like, oh yeah, this is good, right? Oh yeah, let's start with some mimosas too. Yeah. But we're okay. We're doing okay. Yeah, that's not so much.
That's funny. What's crazy is that when I first started in fitness, 12, 13 years ago now, people would tell me all the time, I don't eat healthy, Jackson. Like, I need help with my diet. My diet is very poor. It's bad. I haven't had somebody tell me that their diet is bad in years. It's been, last 3, 4, 5 years, probably not one person has told me that, because everybody now that I talk to goes, oh, I eat healthy. I eat clean. Even people who are obese that join our program go, I eat healthy, I eat clean. And clearly they don't, but there's a massive gap now in education, because people don't know anymore, because marketing has gotten so good, and it's so confusing now, to your point earlier, that people just don't know what healthy is anymore. They don't know what eating quote unquote clean is. And everybody thinks they're doing it, and very few people are, until you actually learn, get some education, but also like track what you're doing and really get those insights.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. And I mean, I'll admit, I like to finagle ways to cheat, but cheat healthy, you know? Like, oh yeah, Quest makes great Reese's peanut butter cups. Yeah, those are awesome, right? Yeah, they're really good. Yeah, you really come on. Like seriously, it's a processed food. Like, let's be honest here. Yeah. So I mean, 90% of the time, do the best you can. You still got to have a little bit of fun though.
Absolutely, 100%. Well, on
Yeah.
that note, Donnie, I really appreciate it. It really has been an honor to work with you and coach you. You've been really fun client to work with. I've really appreciated it tremendously. And I just want to say thank you for sharing your story, taking the time to really do this. It means so much to me when people, share their stories, because it helps other people get into the program. So thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure and an honor. And I appreciate you, my friend.
Hey, thank you so much. I appreciate you guys too, and Emily
All
and
right.
Heather as well.
All right. You heard him. Action's the difference. So take action today and make your dreams come true.